This art lesson is sponsored by Paramount Pictures for the movie Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Hey art friends, I'm really excited about today's art lesson. We're going to learn how to draw the mimic from the movie Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. And if you haven't seen this movie yet, you gotta check it out. It's super funny and I especially love all of the creatures in it. And you can purchase or rent the movie on digital today, so be sure to check the link below this video. This lesson is a little more advanced, but we're gonna take it one step at a time so you can follow along, and it's still a lot of fun. I'm using colored pencils and markers to draw and color with, and I'm also using marker paper to draw on, but you can use whatever you have at home or in the classroom. All right, let's get started. Let's first fold our paper in half. We'll take the top edge. We're gonna line it up with the bottom edge. When you get it all lined up, we'll crease it down the middle and then out to the corners. Then we're gonna take the top flap, line it up with the top edge, and crease it down again. Then let's flip our paper over and we're gonna repeat that same step. We'll take the top flap, line it up with the top edge, and crease it down. This last fold is just a guide fold, so we wanna unfold it and then flatten it out. Then we'll flip our paper back over, and when we're all done, it should open up like this. Now we're ready to draw, and I'm using my colored pencil first to draw the main shapes and the guidelines. And the color I'm using is raspberry. It's kind of a dark red color, and it's also a Prismacolor colored pencil. But also remember, you don't have to use the same art supplies that I'm using. And if you just have a pencil, that works perfect too. Okay, first let's draw the sides of our chest. And we're gonna draw a line that starts up here on the top left, and we're gonna draw it coming straight down. And we want part of it to be above the fold and part of it to be below. This will be the lid for our chest, and then we'll have the bottom down here. And then we're gonna draw that same line over here. We wanna leave the same amount of space on each side, and I'm gonna draw it right about here. And we're gonna draw it straight down over the fold. There we go. And I think I'm gonna make this side a little bit wider. So that's okay if you make mistakes, don't worry. The most important thing is to have fun and practice. So now we're going to draw the bottom. We're gonna draw a line straight across, and then we're gonna draw a curve for the top of our chest. I'm gonna draw it curved about that much. And you could go over it a couple times. It's okay if these lines are a little messy. They're just guidelines. There we go. Next, let's add some of the details. First, let's draw the side of our chest coming straight down. So we're gonna draw another line like this on the other side, and we want this distance to be the same. So we're just gonna use our eyes to measure. Come straight down. There we go. And then let's draw a line straight across, above the fold. Let's also draw that same line below the fold, right here. And I'm pressing kind of hard so that these lines show up, but you can also press lightly so they don't show up as much on your drawing. Now let's draw another line right here in between the fold and this bottom line. I'm gonna draw it straight across. I want to make my chest a little bit wider too. And that's a fun thing with using pencils first, is you can change your drawing any way you want. So if you want to make it a little wider or you want to make it taller, you can change it any way you want. And you can make these lines different just because we're using the pencil first, then we're going to use the markers later. So I'm extending the top and also the bottom just to make the chest a little wider on each side. There we go. And we have all of these extra lines, and that's okay. I'm not worried about erasing them because we're going to color on top with our markers. Now let's add all of the extra details, and the chest on Dungeons and Dragons has these really cool straight lines. Part of it is wood and part of it's metal. So it's kind of like stripes going down the chest. So first we're going to draw two lines straight down the middle, and we're going to draw them about this far apart. So I'm trying to use my eye to pick the middle of the chest and then draw those two lines right in the middle. And we're going to extend these two lines down the bottom too. Then we're gonna add another line on each side. So this middle part is metal, and then this stripe is wood. And we're gonna go down to the bottom too. So we got this stripe right here is wood. And we're gonna draw that same line on the other side. We're gonna go all the way down. So now we got 2 stripes with wood and 1 with metal. Now we're gonna repeat this step a couple more times. So we want 3 stripes on each side. So this is the first one. Then we're gonna draw another one. So we'll leave a little space. This is gonna be the second stripe. So I'm gonna draw those 2 lines first, and then we'll extend them down further. And then we're gonna do that again for the third wood detail. There we go. Now, anytime that I go too fast and you need extra time, remember you can always pause the video, and you can also even rewind the video if you need to watch the step over again. All right, there we go. Now we're gonna repeat all of those same steps on the other side so that we have that same detail over here. And this part I'll go a lot faster because we're just repeating those steps. So there's our second wood stripe. We'll draw it coming down to the bottom part too. Then we're gonna add one more for the third stripe. Now I got a little mixed up. We have so many stripes here. So here's the first wood stripe. Here's the second one. I'm gonna make it a little bit wider. There we go. We've got so many lines going that it's kind of hard to keep track of them all. And then here's the third wood stripe right here. So I'm going to extend this one out just a little bit wider. I'm going to make these lines a little darker too so that I don't get mixed up. And then there's our third stripe of wood coming down. So I'm going to put a little mark on here too. So here's wood. This one is. Then we got this one, and also here. And then we got right here and right here. So we should have a total of 6 stripes of wood coming down. Then right here in the middle, I'm gonna darken in these 2 lines in the middle to let me know that this is the center of our chest right here. Then we're gonna put the latch right over the fold. So I'm gonna put a short line here, and then it's gonna come down further to here, and we're gonna add a little rectangle shape for the latch, for the lock that can secure the chest. I'm also going to darken in a few other details just so that we don't get too confused what's going on. So here is the side of our chest, and I've got all of these extra lines here. Maybe I'll try to erase some of those. And then we have this side over here. I'm gonna darken this in. So this is solid metal over here on this side. And then we have this coming across, all the way across. Let's come down here and add one more detail coming across the bottom of the chest, all the way across the bottom. Let's put our pencil off to the side, and we're gonna switch to our first marker. I'm using my Art for Kids Hub markers. These are alcohol-based markers, and I'm using the number 94 if you have the same set. But if you don't worry, you can use any alcohol-based marker or even something completely different. You could use just colored pencils for the whole thing, or you could even use oil pastels or even watercolor. First, color in the brown that's on our chest, and we're gonna start with the little stripes going down. So this middle one is gray. This one on the side is brown right here, and we're gonna stop here. So we don't wanna go all the way down to the fold. Then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side so we can kind of keep track of what's brown and what's gray. I'm gonna go a little past the top too, because these are wood slats on top of the metal. And we're gonna do the next stripe. So we'll leave this one blank, and then we'll color it brown, and we'll do the same thing with the next one. Nice, now let's color in this side. And we'll do the last slat here, the last stripe. It's already starting to look really cool. Now let's add wood right here. So from this line all the way over to the side, we're gonna color brown. And we're coloring it down to the fold. The mimic chest was super cool in the movie. I loved how much detail was on the chest. It'd be really cool to have a small model of this, I think, on my desk. Then we're gonna do the same thing on this side. So we're gonna color all the way across, down to the bottom. It'd be cool too if the model opened up and the mimic was inside. Of course, not alive, just a model. And then we're gonna draw in between each of these. So it's almost like a checker pattern. We're gonna color here down to the fold. And this part right here is gray. So we're gonna leave that blank for now. And then we're gonna skip and color this square rectangle shape. Then we'll do the same thing. We're gonna color above the latch. So this one's a little smaller than the other ones. And then we'll color this square. And also this one. Cool, now we're ready to color the wood on the bottom of the chest. Let's start with the slats too. We're gonna start here next to the latch, and we'll color this stripe all the way down to the bottom. Then we're gonna leave blank stripe and then color the next one. And then we'll do the same thing for the last one on the left side. Then let's do the right side. We're gonna leave this center spot blank or white, and then we'll color in this stripe and repeat that all the way across. Next, we're gonna color the bottom of the chest, this little detail down here, but we don't wanna color past the right side or the left side of the stripes. So we're just gonna color in between to there. And that's it. Now we're ready to switch to our gray marker. The color I'm using now is CG7. This is a dark, cool gray. And we're gonna color everything else in gray. This part will speed up, so remember to pause the video and take extra time to color in the rest of your chest. Now that I have it all colored in, I'm switching to my black colored pencil, and I'm gonna darken in some of the details around the chest. We'll go around the outside and darken in the edges just a little bit. And I'm gonna go around the bottom and darken in the very bottom of the chest too, and also this side. Let's also darken in this little side detail that runs down the lid, and we'll do the same thing on the right side. And then I'm gonna darken in also the sides of each of the wood details on the lid. Let's also darken in the latch. I'm gonna add a little dark line here. Then we'll draw the lines going down the side. And right here, I'm gonna draw a little point at the very bottom of the latch. And then we can also darken in the little rectangle shape inside of the latch. Now let's add a dark black line going across here for the top of the bottom piece. And then also we can add a little dark line that goes through the middle. Then we can draw down the side here and also across the bottom. I'm gonna draw just in between each of the wood slats and then across here. And then let's also darken in the wood going down. I like how the black colored pencil makes the details a little sharper. Now let's switch back to our white colored pencil. We're gonna add a few highlights. Let's add right here, we're gonna add a little highlight on top of each of these details right here, all the way across. We can also add a little highlight on the wood piece coming across. Let's also add one here on this middle piece. And we can also add it down here at the bottom. And maybe in between also. And we can add it on top of the latch. Now this next part's gonna be really fun. There are little rivet details on the sides of the chest. So first we're gonna draw with our white colored pencil a few rivets coming down the side. So I'm gonna add maybe 3 rivets right here. And then let's see if we can add a few more, maybe 4 on that part. Let's repeat that over here. So we'll add 4 coming down. So we got 4 dots and then 3 dots. Then let's add maybe 4 dots coming down here also. See if we can fit them in. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll add 4 here. And then we're gonna add those 4 I really like the Prismacolor colored pencil because you can color on top of the chest. Now let's switch back to our black colored pencil, and we're going to add a little shadow on each of those rivets. We're just going to draw a little shadow below the white dot. This is going to make the rivets look more 3D, like they're sticking out of the chest. Let's switch back to our white colored pencil. To make our chest look more 3D, we're going to add a highlight on the very top, and I'm using the pencil on its side to add this highlight that goes across the top of the chest, and we're just going to color right through everything. And I'm going to press a little bit more firm on the very top of the chest, and then as I go down, I'm going to get lighter, press lighter, and kind of fade out towards the bottom. So you'll have this gradation that starts strong at the top and then lighter at the bottom. I love how that makes the top of the chest look more round. You can also go back over with the black, and you can add some of those details back in. If you want to color down the stripes, you can add that detail in. You can also add the shadow back in on the rivets. There we go, we did it. There's our chest, our mimic chest. And now we're ready to open up our drawing. This is really cool because you can also change your drawing. You could make a bunch of these, and some of the chests could have different things in them. You could have a sword or an axe, and then you could also have one that has the mimic in it. And I think that's the scary part. You don't know what you're gonna get. Now we're ready to draw with our raspberry or red color pencil, or dark red, and we're gonna add the details inside. Let's first start by drawing the little lip for the inside of the chest. This is the lid of our chest. So we're going to draw a little rectangle shape at the top and also down here at the bottom. So we draw a short line up on each side, and then we're going to connect those two short lines, the line across. This is going to be so awesome. Now we're going to draw the chest. We're going to draw it 3D. So we're going to draw the line coming in diagonal to the fold right here. We can just draw that straight diagonal line in, and then we're going to draw it coming back out to the bottom. Let's repeat that same step over here. So we're going to leave about this much space. So if we come straight down, we're going to come in about that far, and we're going to draw the right side coming down. There we go. And then we're going to draw it coming back out to the bottom. That way it looks like it's coming out towards you. It looks like we've opened up the chest. This one, I think I'm going to make it not as far in. We're going to come just there. There we go. And you change it any way you want. So now we got the sides of our chest. Let's add all of the cool details for our mimic. We're going to add the teeth first up here at the top, and then we're going to draw right here. We're going to draw the teeth really big coming out to the side. So we're going to curve out and then back in. And then we're going to add this part. Don't try to make it look exactly like mine. There's so many details. So just add your teeth, as many teeth as you want. And I'm going to just draw a bunch of curved V's coming all the way over to the other side. Oh, let's draw this big curved tooth coming out too. So we're going to draw it coming way out like that. And then we can draw the next row or the next set of teeth coming in. We're going to draw maybe curving down a little bit more and then back up. And then we're going to draw smaller teeth in the front. If you want, you can use an eraser to erase this line to make it a little lighter. Because I'm using colored pencil, it won't completely erase, and that's okay. I think it looks cool going through too. All right, now let's draw the teeth on the bottom, and we're going to repeat that same step, but the teeth are aimed up. So we're going to draw a curve coming up this way and then curving back. We can draw the tooth over here also. So we got those two main ones that are really big. And then when they come in towards the center, they get smaller, especially on the bottom. I think they got a lot smaller in the middle because you got this big, massive tongue coming out also. So I'm going to draw these teeth a lot smaller. I have to admit that I actually did jump really high when the mimic opened up. It scared me. It was a good jump scare. I liked it. I was expecting another weapon. it was this creature. I love that we're making a folding surprise out of it too, because you can surprise people. If you show other people your drawing, I'm sure they're gonna expect something completely different than when you open it up. Okay, now that we got those main teeth in there, let's draw a few more behind this first row. So I'm gonna draw another tooth that comes out, and let's draw a couple of them right next to each other. And then I'm gonna do the same thing over here. We'll draw one tooth, and a couple more next to it. And I hope you notice that I'm not really worried about trying to make these shapes look perfect. I'm just sketching them in quickly. And it's okay if they're messy. I'm gonna add another tooth there. And let's add another row up here too. These can be a lot smaller up at the top, or the second row that's behind the bigger ones. Okay, I have a lot of teeth in there, and that part we sped up. So remember, you can pause the video if you want to take extra time to draw these teeth in. Now let's draw the big, huge tongue that's coming out of our chest. So we're going to start here on the left side, and we're going to draw an S curve. We're going to come up really high, close to the fold, and then we're going to come back down, and we're going to curve around here on this edge of the paper. And so we're going to have this S curve that comes in and back out. Okay, now let's draw the other side of the tongue. We're going to start here at the tip of the tongue, and we're going to start coming down and get really close to the other curve, and then we're going to come back up and curve into the chest. Now this tongue was like super 3D, and we need to add the top of the tongue now. So this is the side. And then the top of the tongue, we're going to draw another S curve that comes up higher like this, and then we're going to blend it into the side. I like going over these curves a couple times just to get them just the way I want them. And oh, let's also add the throat for our mimic. We're going to draw little curves on each side of the tongue. And also I couldn't quite tell, but in the movie it seemed like there were a few little teeth on the side of the tongue, because it used the tongue to grab onto things, but we got these extra teeth on the side of the tongue. That looks really gross. Okay, and then I'm gonna also lighten up the line here with my eraser. Now we're ready to switch back to our markers and color the inside of our chest. Let's first use 26. This is a light yellow, and we're gonna use this for the teeth. And I'm just going to color it in solid all the way across for all of the teeth. Now I'm switching to 341. This is a pink color, and it's not too bright. You don't want this to look neon. We want to try to make it look more realistic. So we're going to color in the whole thing, everything except for the teeth. Now that we have that all colored in pink, let's also switch to our CG7 to color in this top lip and also the bottom. Let's also use CG7 or this cool gray 7, dark gray, to add shadows and shading inside of the mouth. So this is the throat. I'm going to color in these little side shapes on each side of the tongue. Then I'm going to use CG5. This is a slightly lighter gray to add shading below the top row of teeth. And we're just going to color in and add this layer right on top of all of the pink. This is going to make the mouth look more 3D. So we're going to color the shading part above the fold, and then we'll kind of blend it into the bottom or below the fold. Now we have that gray colored in, and then also have some of this texture lines in here to blend it into the bottom part. Now let's add a shadow on the bottom of the tongue. So I'm going to draw right here. We're going to add this gray right on top of the pink, all the way down to about here. And we're going to do the same thing, kind of fade it out by adding some texture on top of this pink. And I'm going to also add the texture this way so that the tongue looks more 3D. We're gonna have it come down, and you can also let this layer dry for a second, and then you can go back over it and it will add another layer that's darker on top. I'm gonna add texture lines going this way too on this part of the tongue. Okay, I'm kind of going crazy. I'm adding more texture on the bottom part of the mimic down here in between the teeth, and also on the tongue. Having these texture lines come up a little higher and following, I'm trying to get them to follow the shape of the tongue. So you got kind of these lines that are coming up on the bottom of the tongue, and then adding these shadows in between the teeth down here on the bottom row. Next, let's switch back to the CG7. This is a slightly darker gray that we're going to add another layer of shading on top of the CG5, or the lighter gray, up here, and this won't come down as far. We're going to use this to add more contrast to the shading. And contrast, I think, makes drawings look even more interesting by adding darks and lights. So I think this also makes it look scarier to have more shadows or darker shadows on the top part. I'm going to also add some texture lines going this way. And just a reminder, don't worry about trying to make your drawing look exactly like mine. Just use mine as inspiration for yours. So you can pause the video and take that extra time to add these shadows and extra details. I hope you added a lot of teeth to your drawing, and also adding the shading, you can take extra time to add even more shadows and highlights. I think that's what we should do after we add the shadow in. We should use the white colored pencil to add a few more highlights. Let's speed things up again. Remember to pause the video and take extra time on your drawings. Now let's switch to our white colored pencil. We can add highlights on the tongue. I'm going to add a few little texture highlights here. You're going to also add it on top of the tongue here. You can make these other highlights a little stronger. You can even add highlights on the teeth too if you want to make those look shinier. You can add them anywhere you want. And you can also even do this on top of those red colored pencils that are still showing through, and that makes it even lighter. There we go. And also right here, I'm going to add a little highlight on the side of the tongue. We can also add highlights inside of the mouth. This is going to make it look more wet, or like there's monster saliva inside of the mouth. Oh, that's what we need. We need saliva from the teeth, all the way from the top tooth down to the bottom. And we're just going to draw a straight line down, and we can add another one. Let's add it right maybe here. Well, let's see if I can get that little brighter to come in. Maybe a smaller one back here. Or we could even have one come to the tongue and one past the tongue. Oh, these are gross. And also, if you want, you could use the colored pencil to add more details. You can add, make the throat darker. I'm going to use a black colored pencil and make these little holes on the side of the tongue darker. You can also use this to add the shadows up here, make these darker. And we did it. We finished drawing our mimic. It looks really cool. Let's fold it back up, and we can crease it down again so that it will stay. And there it is, all closed up. You don't even know what's inside. And then when you open it, I'm sure this will scare somebody. This was definitely one of my favorite monsters or creatures in the movie Dungeons and Dragons. It was such an awesome movie. There's so many cool characters and creatures in the movie. I really did love it. One of my favorite things besides the monsters, I just love how funny the movie was. You could also even add more things to your drawing. You could add the labyrinth in the background. You could add anything you want. I hope you had a lot of fun following along with me and drawing your own mimic. And I hope you took extra time to finish your drawing, coloring it, and adding more details. And I want to see how your drawings turned out. So be sure to take a photo of it and post it on Facebook or Instagram. Tag me in it at Art for Kids Hub and also use the hashtag AFKHMimic. Also remember that you can purchase or rent the movie Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves today. Be sure to click the link below this video for more information. I also want to say thank you to Paramount Pictures for sponsoring this art lesson, and we'll see you later, art friends. Goodbye.